He's Paul Caravello, not Eric Carr. Kiss named him Eric Carr. Kiss owned his identity. They pretty much owned him. And he was extremely paranoid, but with good reason. Turns out that Eric Singer was going to take his place. One of the hardest things I've ever done in my life is walk up to Eric's coffin.
Paul said, well, you took the drumsticks out of Eric's hands at the funeral.
That's a complete fucking lie. And I did edit a lot of things out, by the way, especially about John Elway. The craziest people and most dangerous people that have been in my world have been Kiss fans. I think I came into my own in 1997 when I became a Playmate. They want me to talk about what assholes they are. And you know what? Paul and Gene are assholes. Everybody knows it. I think he became so comfortable around me that he didn't want to be with anyone else. By the way, the Me Too movement has basically hurt every industry for attractive women. Oh my God, I've had like death threats from Kiss fans.
Well, just so you know, you might not have showed your tits. I showed mine all the time, and it never got me
I
anywhere.
showed him so much more later. I way made up for it in the 90s and the 2000s. And hey, just Google me, then my tits are everywhere.
Right.
We had been through so much together that we were closer than any marriage could have made us.
You're kind of like the Eric Carr ambassador. I mean, I don't know if you wanted that role, but you kind of are.
I did. Be careful what you ask for, right? It was always my mission to keep Eric's memory alive.
Hey, it's an honor to welcome Carrie Stevens to the show. Carrie dated Kiss drummer Eric Carr in the late 1980s until his tragic death in 1991. She was Miss June 1997 for Playboy magazine. She's made numerous television and movie appearances, including the 2001 Rockstar movie, and she is the author of the amazing book Unrated, Revelations of a Rock'n'Roll Centerfold. With that, Carrie Stevens, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man. And I got this book last week. I started it Saturday night at 11 p.m. and I finished it Sunday at 7. And for people who I used to be an avid reader, I've kind of, you hang on your phone and your computer so much, but I could not put this thing down. So anyway, I just wanted you to know that.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me.
Sure. So you're from Buffalo, right?
Actually, I was just born in Buffalo.
Okay.
I only lived there for the first year of my life, and then I moved to Massachusetts. But, I went to Buffalo my entire life because my grandparents and all my cousins and, everybody is from there. So I have a deep connection with upstate New York. I also had grandparents in Albany, and I'm an East Coast girl. Even though I live in LA since 1989, I still consider myself East Coast mentality.
Sure. So
most of us here are transplants.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah. Like how many rock stars were actually born in LA? Like not very many.
I know some, but depends on your definition of a rock star. Yeah.
Sure. So you're known. I mean, a lot of your book is about being with Eric Carr, and if people were actually wondering if you were a real Kiss fan, you dressed up as a member of Kiss when you were like 10 for Halloween, correct?
Yes, I did. Yeah, it's a funny story because we were a 3-man band because Ace got grounded. So
right.
Yeah.
Okay. But if I in the book, your first love was actually David Lee Roth from Van Halen, right?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say love, I'd say crush.
Right.
Yeah, I would say Dave gets a lot of credit for being an inspiration to me. And the first concert I went to was Journey, but the second one was Van Halen in 1984. And I have never been the same since. There's a funny meme going around social media forever now, but it's Olivia Newton-John from Grease, you know, and
Yeah.
it's like before Van Halen, it's like her innocent look, and then the after Van Halen, she's like, you know, in the leather pants, she's got a cigarette. That's kind of what happened to me. You know, I went to Worcester, Massachusetts, to the Centrum to see the show, and I walked in one girl and came out the other, and I've been that girl ever since. Yeah.
Right. So you're so associated with rock and roll. Like what other bands? This might be off topic, but what were you listening to when you were younger before you?
It's kind of strange. Everything reminds me of Eric because I'm gonna say Led Zeppelin, but as then this is why my book was not intended to be all about Eric. Eric was originally one chapter of my book because it's really about my life. You know, I'm chatty. I always tell stories when I'm out, and everybody would say to me, "You need to write a book."
Yeah.
So I did, and it was not intended to be so much about Eric, but as you know, he's actually in every chapter of the book except one. And that's because he kind of lives here in my mind. And so when you just asked me about music, and I was going to tell you my answer, I was thinking, well, yeah, Led Zeppelin was one of Eric's influences and favorite bands. And at the time, I was so young, I didn't know a whole lot about Led Zeppelin, but now they're probably, I would say Van Halen is my top choice, and Led Zeppelin would be my second choice.
Okay.
Do you want me to come up with more?
Oh no, that's that.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, that's so. I think you first see Eric Carr and Kiss in '85, correct?
No, that was it. It was 19. Oh,
I
yeah,
don't,
it
I
was
don't,
85. I was in high school and I was 16.
okay.
Yeah, that was in Springfield, Massachusetts. Mhm.
And you talk about it, and I'm going to ask you stuff about the book, but the book is in so much more detail than what I'm going to ask. But there's a crazy story about you being on somebody's shoulders at that show in 1985, and Paul Stanley, like what happened?
Yeah, okay, I'll tell the story. So
Okay.
I was you know, a crazy teenager, and back in the olden days, back in the good old days, like we were allowed to do that. Like we could just you know, climb on guys' shoulders, and that's what I did. I you know, had general admission seats, and I just tapped, you know, the tallest guy I could find, and he's like, "Come on up." So I jumped on his shoulders, and I remember exactly what I was wearing. It was this kind of white off the shoulder sweatshirt thing, like very flash dance with white uh, like fishnet mesh over it tight on the side.
Right.
And you know, back in those days, show me your tits was a big thing. So yeah, it was like, show me your tits, you know.
Right.
Paul Stanley was saying, motioning to all the girls, as was Jean, you know, show me your tits. And being the small town innocent girl I wasn't about to show my tits at a concert, but I just lifted up just the white mesh part, but the sweatshirt material covered me. And yeah, Paul actually put a spotlight on me, stopped the show, and said, "You, I'm going to marry you." And oh my God, like at the time, it was like the most exhilarating moment of my life. And, you know, later on, I figured, he probably, it's probably a shtick. He probably does that at every show, picks a girl out of the audience and says that, you know, it seems like it would be. And I'm still not sure because I didn't go to more than one show that year.
Right.
Um, but and I don't think it would have been appropriate to ask Eric about that later. But I did ask Paul
Okay.
once if he remembered that, and he said he did. Again, I don't really believe it.
Right. I think
In any case, it was a great moment in my adolescence. I mean, are you still an adolescent at 16? Sort of. Yeah, you're
I think
underage.
so.
Yeah.
I think I was still in adolescence until
Back then,
two
I don't
weeks
think
ago.
anyone cared about the underage thing.
Right.
It wasn't such a big deal. I
Right.
get a lot of flack now, still, about being so much younger than Eric, and a lot of people like to gossip about that. And
Sure.
the fact is, I was 19 years younger than him, but I was legal.
Right.
I was 18, when we got together.
And so I think you meet him in 87 in Memphis. You see him at a club and I think you offered him a ride. Like, are you surprised you had the guts to do that?
Oh yeah, but I surprise myself a lot. Uh, I do. Once in a while, I just, some strength comes over me and I don't really know where it came from. But that was one of those moments. A girlfriend and I had gone to the Peabody Hotel, which is a very famous hotel in Memphis, and where the ducks parade like through the lobby, and I
Right.
don't. Yeah. Anyway,
Right.
all the big bands always stayed at the Peabody, and next door there was the Radisson. And if they weren't at the Peabody, they were at the Radisson. So it was usually the opening bands that stayed at the Radisson, and the open, the main act that stayed at the Peabody.
Sure.
And I hung out with all these cool rocker chicks in Memphis. And one of them was a lot older than me, Kathy, and she knew everybody.
Mhm.
And she had met Eric before. And interestingly enough, the night of the concert, I was there in a hot pink leather mini skirt with like a metal silver mesh like halter top.
Right.
And yeah, I could miss me. And the first person to come out was Eric. And that night I didn't meet him, but
Mhm.
Kathy walked up to him. She'd known him before, and she secured backstage passes for all of us and four girls. And I still didn't meet him that night, and
Yeah.
he didn't seem to notice me like walking out. Jean did. Yeah,
Right.
I think everyone else had, but Eric didn't. And then um, a couple nights later, Ron Wood from the Rolling Stones had an art exhibit at the Peabody. So my girlfriend Mary and I had gone there to go to the art exhibit, and then we had a drink in the lobby bar. And from the back of his head, I thought it was Paul Stanley. And he was with two other guys. Oh, and now I know who they are. One was a road manager, one was a roadie, and we're still in touch. It's crazy enough,
Really?
but yeah. So anyway, it's a small world. So yeah, I overheard them saying that they were going to get a taxi to go see a band play called the Willies at the Midway Cafe in Memphis,
Okay.
and I was a fan of theirs too. So I just kind of chimed in and I said, I have a car, I'll take you. And they said yes, and that's how it all started.
Was that normal for you? I mean, were you that
Oh,
outgoing and
what is normal? I don't
right?
know.
Good
I don't
point.
know what normal is. I don't know. I don't think there was anything normal about the way Eric and I met, got together. I mean, it was like getting hit by lightning. What are the chances? It turns out, see, Kiss's next two shows, they weren't supposed to be, it's still in Memphis, and their next two shows had gotten canceled for some reason. And
Right.
the rest of the band flew back to LA, and uh, Eric stayed and then, went on to their next city. So, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have met him. But
Right.
yeah.
Um, you were going to journalism school when you met him, right?
Yes, I was a student at Memphis State University, and my major was journalism. I wanted to be Martha Quinn. I wanted, yeah, I should have aimed for Barbara Walters. I wanted to be like a cross between, I think, I wanted to be a journalist, but didn't like, journalism. But like when I learned how to do it, you have to like, you know, condense yourself to the top 5 sentences,
Right.
and I was more creative. I was more detail oriented, and I was so distracted, honestly, by I guess it's ADD or something. I'm only interested in what I'm interested in, and I was interested in not current events, but current music.
Okay. Okay. Huh. So okay, you start this fling, whatever you want it, with Eric.
Mhm.
Like, how long is it before you know, like, hey, this isn't just some dude I hooked up with, like, this is more than that? When do you
Oh,
realize?
I think I knew that immediately, but I didn't think that he would ever take me seriously, because I was just a girl he met on the road. Like I was just a small town girl. I lived in Massachusetts on a dead end dirt road until my mom kicked me out my senior year. And then I was forced to go move to Memphis, where my dad is a scientist and he was working for a pharmaceutical company there. So I had to go there. And I didn't willingly leave. It was the best thing that ever happened to me, but I was uh, kicked out, and I was already a very small time model because you can't be a big time one where I grew up. Uh, but I went to John Elway's modeling school and did car shows and things like that, and then I continued it when I went to live in Memphis, and that's in modeling school. That's where I met all the cool rocker chicks who taught me, how to find the bands, who they knew the bands. We went to like all these cool clubs in Memphis. And it was, the scene in the
Yeah,
80s. It was
yeah.
the best.
Well, just so you know, you might not have showed your tits. I showed mine all the time, and it never
Oh,
got
I
me
showed him
anywhere.
so much more later. I way made up for it in the 90s and the 2000s. And hey, just Google me, then my tits are everywhere.
Right, right. Good point. Okay, so okay, you start this whirlwind romance, and not to ask you to speak for Eric, but did
Oh,
he ever?
don't worry about it. Everybody asks me to speak
That,
for Eric.
right, right.
Yeah.
Did he ever open up about the inner dynamics of Kiss, like his relationship with the other guys?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Like, I mean, was it good? Was it, or did he
Well,
feel like?
I honestly think it's like any relationship, and honest, just being a woman and understanding how difficult it is to have a relationship alone, like with a man. I can't imagine 4 or 5 men together having a relationship and having to tour together and depend on each other, and work together, and pretty much live together like on the road. You see all of these bands, they break up and then they get back together, and they break up, they get back together. I have no doubt if Eric were, you know, alive, had he lived, he would have uh, gone on and been in other successful bands, but he probably would have, no matter what his differences were uh, with the band. I think he would have still been a part of it because he was so talented and valued. It's I'm not a musician, but my son is, and I don't think I understood at the time that I was with Eric, like how difficult it is to be able to sing and play drums at the same time. What a rare talent that is.
Yeah,
And um, and he was pretty much, people can argue with me, but he was uh, the first, or one of the first, to integrate um, the newer technology into uh, drumming. And
right.
yeah, I know people love to they want me to talk about the controversy with Paul and Jean. They want me to talk about what assholes they are. And you know what? Paul and Jean are assholes. Everybody knows it. But you know what? Uh, I notice, and not that I follow them constantly, but I notice, because people love to talk to me about them, that they've changed. Like,
Right.
they've grown, and I'll give them credit for that. Like, they have uh, become more humble and generous, and owned up to their past mistakes. And even currently, I saw on social media that uh, Gene's comments about Ace Frehley's passing, he fell, that what didn't go over well, but he did take accountability and
Right.
come forward and apologize. And one of the reasons that I respect Gene so much is because in 2002, he asked me to be on the cover of his Tongue magazine, and um, he had a writer do a very in-depth interview with me that I was very happy with. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
But Gene didn't like it. It wasn't scandalous enough for him. So he invited me to his home because he wanted to interview me himself. And I looked him straight in the eye and I said, I hate you. I have always hated you for the way that you treated Eric. And he said, tell me everything. I want to hear everything. And he printed it. And that's why I respect him so much, because he doesn't just run his mouth. Like, he let me run my mouth too, you know?
Right.
I respect him, and I also believe he truly loved Eric. And decisions that he made based on business, and let's face it, Kiss is not a regular band. They are a business. And he made his decisions based on that, and I was Eric's girlfriend. I loved him. I wanted him to be happy. And when I saw him in emotional turmoil because they wouldn't let him have the creative control that he craved, and he earned that. He was in the band for 12 years.
Yeah.
At the time, now it's Eric Singer, but he was their longest running drummer, and they took his solo away. That broke his heart. He had a ton of original material that wasn't accepted, was rejected on albums. And he really wanted to do his own thing. I mean, he was stifled, I'd
Did,
say. Yeah.
the word stifle, do you think he felt like I'm kind of a hired gun, like they wouldn't let him write, they were
Yes.
going to take all the
Yeah.
publishing and all that?
There's a great movie called Hired Gun, a documentary that Rudy Sarzo, a friend of mine. I'm sure you all know who Rudy Sarzo is.
Yep.
But yeah, Hired Gun, I was watching that recently and thinking, oh yeah, Eric would have been in this had he survived. But yeah, he was a hired gun. But like I said, there's no doubt in my mind, like, had he lived, like, he would have started something else and been incredibly successful. I know I shouldn't look back and go, oh, this would have, but I say without doubt, because he was so driven,
Right.
that would have happened. And he was extremely paranoid, but with good reason. Turns out that Eric Singer was going to take his place. And I actually saw Eric Singer at the Kiss Expo in 2018. And he took me aside and he said, hey, he's like, people are telling me that, like, Eric thought I was going to replace him. And I'm like, yeah, it's true. It is true, because he was Paul Stanley's, when Paul Stanley did his solo tours, he took Eric Singer. Yeah, it wasn't without reason. I mean, Eric Carr's instincts were spot on. He was replaced, but I kind of understand, and I kind of don't. Like, I don't understand, like, why they couldn't have just waited until Eric passed away. Because according to them, it they talked to Eric's doctors, which I'm not sure I believe, because I don't think it's legal for them to do that.
Right.
But who knows? People in high places get away with things. But yeah, they were told that, he'd never be able to drum again. And I think they didn't want to risk the liability of taking him out on tour and then having to cancel gigs and lose hundreds of thousands of dollars with Eric being sick. That being said, it's what kept Eric going.
Yeah.
And that's what broke my heart, is because I wanted him to beat this cancer. And instead of focusing on healing, he was so distracted by the threat of losing his position in the band.
Sure.
And that's where my pain or resentment, whatever you call it, like that's mainly where it comes from.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember when did you notice that something was wrong? Like when was it like, hey, he seems off physically?
I never did. I never did notice that he was physically off. Uh, it was a rough time in our relationship towards the end of the Hot in the Shade tour.
Yeah.
It was more like he was erratic mentally, like he would need me to get on a plane and fly to see him 3,000 miles away, and I would drop everything and go. And then it was like he didn't want me there, and he would be silent. He gave me the silent treatment. He just was like put a pillow between us, like acted normal in public, but in private he was. And then I later found out from Bruce Kulick that it wasn't just me, he was treating everyone that way. And Gene too. Looking back, one time I came to a show, and I remember Gene saying hello to me, and then looking at Eric and saying, "Is this what's been wrong?" Thinking that maybe Eric just missed me and needed me there.
Right.
Because Gene didn't know, of course, that
Yeah.
what was going on in private between us. But yeah, Eric, yeah, he did. Like I said, I didn't notice anything physically, but emotionally, um, things didn't make sense. And I don't know if that was normal relationship stuff or pertaining to perhaps the cancer had already reached his brain. I mean, we will never know and if he was suffering physically, he certainly didn't tell me about it. You see his body; he was fit, hot. He was, even when he had chemotherapy, when it was towards the end, and he did the God Gave Rock and Roll 2 video, like he gave that 1,000%. He never got tired. I didn't notice it at all. The time I found out about it is, well, we thought he had the flu. We just thought he had a cold. And
Right.
he called my mother. My mother called me, and she said, "You need to like go be with Eric. He's really sick." And I said, "No, he's just got the flu." And the flu didn't go away.
Right.
And yeah, he went and had x-rays, and it showed a tumor on his heart. And that's when we knew.
Yeah. I was gonna ask this, like you're kind of a small town girl. You're dating this big rock star. Is that difficult to, because he's out on the road, and girls are throwing themselves. Like, was that difficult for you?
Well, no, I mean, I think I accepted it because he was he was very honest with me about his past.
Okay.
I didn't like it, but he told me that he'd been with 5 girls at a time, which was it's that to this day I'm like overwhelmed by that. It's not, no, nothing. I told you nothing about this is normal.
Right.
So, but I was sure he was going to cheat on me because he admitted to me that he had cheated on every girlfriend he ever had. But he also said it was very important to him that I believe him, that he wasn't going to cheat on me, and he didn't cheat on me. And you know what? It's been how many years now? 30, I don't remember now. 6.
34,
Okay.
35, something like
So yeah, I stopped counting. But it's never gotten back to me
that.
over all these years. And if any trolls want to email me after this and say, "Oh yeah, I was with Eric," whatever, believe you. So yeah, no, I don't think he did. I actually don't. I, I think that, um, I don't know why, but he really loved me, and I think he was at a point in his life where he wanted to be true to someone. And we started out as friends. We didn't start out like most relationships where it's like you meet and like we're going to be together.
Right.
It wasn't like that. I mean, when I met him, I was so young and he was so larger than life and fantasy. I didn't, I couldn't have fathomed that here I am all these years later, or like his living memorial. But I knew at such a young age, I knew my position, and I treated it as such. I was his friend. I let him cry over his ex-girlfriend to me. I let him talk,
Yeah.
about his life, and I think he became so comfortable around me that he didn't want to be with anyone else.
Right. And you said like after you got sick, like you were, I think you said like you were surprised he handled it so positively. Like like
Yes, actually, I there's a 7-Eleven very close to um, where I live now, and every time I go by it, like it's like every day, I think about when Eric and I were there, and he walked in after his open heart surgery, and he was showing off his scar, like to the clerk at 7-Eleven, like all proud of it, and he always wore this cross necklace, and he was like, all proud of like his
right,
scars. So
right.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, you know what? We never talked about death. I'll
okay.
just say the D word. We never ever. It's surprising to me to this day, but like we never, either of us, entertained that it might be terminal, fatal. Like it all happened so quickly. Uh, we just didn't. We didn't talk about that.
Right.
Like I think it was, um first of all, I couldn't have accepted it.
Right.
uh in the end, I went after, when the way end, when it was only 8 months, by the way, from the
Yeah.
time we found out he was sick to the time he died.
Yeah.
And the doctors gave him 2 to 5 years. I do remember that. I was at every doctor appointment with him. I saw all of the x-rays and the scans. I was with him through the radiation and the chemo, everything. And uh, even though we were told that, we never talked about it. I remember him saying, I have 2 to 5 years to live, but we never talked about, like, I don't know, the worst case. It was kind of like we just breathed through it and ate through it, made love through it, just went on. And I'm glad for that.
Right. Um, you mentioned that Eric Singer had recorded "God Gave Rock and Roll to You," but I mean Eric.
Well, no, I didn't mention that
Oh,
actually.
okay. Oh, I thought
Eric Carr was in the video. He got to
that's
play
right.
in the video. But yeah, Eric Singer did play on that track.
Do,
And yeah.
do you remember what like? I mean, I'm assuming he was probably devastated when
Yes, he
found that out.
was.
I
He was
mean,
absolutely devastated. And um, you know, it wasn't like he didn't like Eric Singer. I want to put it that way. It wasn't anything personal towards Eric Singer. It was just that he knew that because he was Paul's solo drummer, that it was an obvious choice to replace him. And I think he knew that. I know that he knew that before God gave rock and roll to you, because it was quite some time that he expressed Eric Singer's going to replace me.
Right.
Like, he just said it convictedly. Like, he did know. And Paul and Eric had a lot of conflict, much more than he and Gene.
Right.
It was like a strange thing to see Eric interact with Paul and me.
Okay.
Paul was hot and cold. Like sometimes I saw him like really nice, but most of the time he's like a deer in the headlights, like very standoffish and cold. And um, I think he's changed, even though I'm not personally in touch, with him. It seems like from a distance, like everybody else, like it seems that family life, like being married to Aaron for so long and having children, seems to have made his heart happy, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
He's done some things that I have been outspoken about, and particularly what he said about me and Eric, and in his book. But then I realized, you know what? I bet he didn't even write his own book, because celebrities don't.
Right.
Gene might. I'll give Gene that. Gene is so brilliant, and he's written so many books on topics outside of Kiss. He wrote a book. What was it? Like the oldest profession in the world
Oh
on,
yeah.
yeah, on hookers. Like he's just, he's a cerebral, interesting guy. Paul, I think he's got some health books out. Good for him, but like I'm sure he had his guru write them with him. I don't. Am I getting rude? Okay.
No, no,
All right.
no,
Well, this
no.
is
You're
just
awesome.
what I know. Like, I'm just
Gene was probably too cheap to pay somebody to write his book. I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
Gene is actually the first person that told me that I should write a book. That's why I thank Gene. I don't know if you noticed, but
I
in
did.
my credits, because Gene started a publishing company, at the time that he did Tongue Magazine, and
Yeah.
I would see him at the Playboy Mansion a lot.
Yeah.
And I was a budding writer, and I had written a treatment for a book I wanted to sell. It was called Big Babies, and because my son was a toddler, and I was realizing that relationships, like the same techniques you use for men, you use for toddlers. So it was like an all-in-one book about how to handle your man and your toddler. And I gave it to Gene, and he gave it back to me. He said, it's good. He goes, but what you should really write about is being on the road with Kiss. And that was, yeah, around 2002, 2003, like, around the time I was on the cover of his magazine. And I wasn't ready. Even though, by the way, I started this book probably in 1993
Oh,
on the
really?
yeah, on the first computer my grandfather gave me, and that they were just like word processors back then. And I don't know whatever happened to it, but I started writing it like as right after Eric died, and in more of a screenplay form. Um, but I
Wow.
kept so much. I mean, I have all of my mail from Eric's mother. Like I have my grandparents' letters. I have Kiss fanzines that Kiss fans would probably like die to have. I have like my envelope from when I was oh my God, it was probably 1985 or before. I was a member of the Kiss Army. like when it was actually like stamped on an envelope and like mailed out,
Yeah.
like in the olden days. Yes, I was in the Kiss Army. Isn't that crazy?
That's
I don't even
amazing.
know. I know. I still have like some of that stuff. Um,
You should, I don't know if you've like if you posted that stuff on social media, I'm sure people would love to see it. So
I've done small amounts at a time, like on his birthday or the anniversary of his death, and certain years it's extremely emotional for me. Like I just like break down,
sure.
and then other years it's like I almost don't feel anything, but I think writing my book uh, um, healed a lot for me because um, it was always my mission to keep Eric's memory alive.
Right.
And I know, I know now that I have done the very best that I can do at doing that. And I'm sure I exceeded like any expectation, which is probably none, that he had of me.
You
Uh,
you're kind of
for
like
that.
the Eric Carr ambassador. I mean, I don't know if you wanted that role, but you kind of are.
I did. Be careful what you ask for, right? But yeah, when he passed away, like that was my mission,
Yeah,
like to keep his memory alive. And I could have never imagined back then that I would have a platform to do so.
right.
But I've earned that, and independently of Eric, which is um, I really want to say that with a grain of salt because I say independently of him, but it's also very much with him
Right.
because uh, he walks with me. Like I said, he inspires me, and I don't think I could have ever had the courage to be a playmate if he didn't suggest it long before I was a playmate. He had mirrors. I know it sounds tacky, but it was the style then. He had
Yeah.
mirrors on his ceiling and mirrors on the walls, and we were laying in bed once looking up at the mirrors, and he said, you've got one of those bodies like those girls in the magazines. And I'm like, what magazines? And he said, you should talk to Shannon Tweed, of course, was Playmate. But I was way too, at that time in my life, I was way too like shy, and I was scared of Shannon. I think I still am. And she is intimidating.
Yeah.
And but I just that was 19. Oh my gosh. It was somewhere between 1990 and I don't know. Let's just say that approximately.
Right.
And then I wasn't a playmate until 7 years later.
Yeah.
But if you read my bio, if you read the article that's
Yeah.
about me, which no one does, no one reads Playboy, they just look at the pictures. But if you read my article, I talk about Eric through the whole thing. And
Right.
I was pretty pissed off at the writer for Playboy because he called me a kiss groupie, and I don't like the term groupie at all because you know what that connotates. And I was his very serious girlfriend. I was never a groupie. I mean, I never like gave blowjobs to roadies or
Right.
guys in the band or like that's what I think of like when you say groupie.
Yeah.
Um uh so I was a little offended by that. But my point is, even 7 years later, like I honored him
Yeah.
when it was my moment to
Yeah.
shine. I included him in it. So, yeah, you know what? That was an incredible love, the love of my life, and um, maybe it's because it was young
Yeah.
love, or maybe we were soulmates, but I don't know. I just can't imagine um, ever feeling that way again, and it's actually made it a little bit difficult. since then to have relationships because
Sure.
they're jealous of my dead boyfriend.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And
The,
you know what? Like, well, I would, I wouldn't want to compete with um,
right.
that memory either. I get
Sure.
it. I get it. It's like, um, but
You said there was a point near the end where Eric asked you to marry him,
it
but you
was
both
our last
kind of laughed.
conversation. I mean, our last conversation while he could still speak. Um, he, oh my God, I'm gonna get emotional. Okay, so
It's okay.
we got some good news. We went to the doctor in New York, and I can't remember how many chemo sessions it was, maybe a summer's worth of chemo,
Yeah.
a few weeks apart. He'd have to go to the hospital for a couple of days, couple of radiations, and then we got x-rays, and they were completely clear. I saw them in the beginning. They were cloudy on his lungs. Oh, to catch everyone up, he had open heart surgery,
Yeah.
and then they took a biopsy of the tumor on his heart, which is very rare. Only 50 cases ever noted at the time. It was a rare sarcoma on his left ventricle. So they removed that successfully. But then when they did the biopsy, they found out it was malignant. So pieces of that, as his heartbeat would spread.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably a lot more science known about it now, but at the time there was only 50 cases noted, and it was the type of cancer that spreads very quickly and is invisible. So we falsely thought that he was clear. So we came back to LA, and because I had an apartment here and he had an apartment there, and we called them both our places, but I threw him a surprise party at this club called Black and Blue. And the next day, he flew back to Manhattan. And when he landed, he called me. This is the hard part.
Yeah.
So he called me. I answered the phone. I said, hello. And he said, will you marry me? And I just started laughing. And he said, why are you laughing? And I said, because you're not serious. And I just joked. I said, us, like we'd get to the end of the aisle, we'd look at each other and go, nah, like we just joke like that, but his voice was soft and serious. And
Yeah.
I knew we had been through so much
Yeah.
together that we were closer than any marriage could have made us.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm going to cry again. So
It's okay.
yeah, like we had already been through the moments where you just look at each other and say, I'm sorry. And you don't even have to say what you're sorry for. You just know each other that well. And, you know, yeah, I'm getting emotional, but he did say that to me. And most people think we were engaged or married. It doesn't matter what people think. You know, um, it matters to me, that even though it's been a curse sometimes, like I succeeded in my mission of keeping his memory alive. And had you told me when I was only 22 years old that I would be his spokesperson, his living memorial, as some people call me, I'm like stunned when people send me photos of the band and there's one signature missing, Eric's, and they want me to sign for him. Like that's just an honor I don't deserve. But I am so grateful that people recognize my loyalty towards him, and I'll always have it. It's
Yeah.
just like love never dies.
Yeah.
Love is stronger than death or heaven, and that is a quote that I used when I threw him a memorial here in LA. There was one in New York, of course, the main one, and then I had one here, the Church of the Blessed Sacrament in Hollywood, for him. And I gave a speech, and I remember saying that love is stronger than death or heaven.
Yeah. And when he died, I mean, like you had said, the guys in Kiss, they wanted him to resign before.
Yes,
Huh?
they did. And they pressured him incredibly while he was in the hospital having chemo. And this is why you can imagine I was angry for a very long time.
Yeah.
Um, and they know it's wrong now.
Yeah.
But I knew it was wrong then
Right.
as a young girl. And I'm sure, you know what? I know my values were different, and I didn't have a stake in Kiss business or for money or anything. So, like I said, you know, they were coming from a completely different place than I was. But, you know, when somebody is fighting for their life and like, listen, I've been going through a hard time lately. Just, you don't need to know why, but like, I've been going through a hard time lately.
Yeah.
And when I find out that people know about it, my friends, they knew about it, but like, they didn't call to check on me, and they're just kind of letting me go through this hard time. And then I call to say hi, and I go, I've been going through, and they're like, oh, I know, I saw your Facebook. I get hurt, for the littlest things. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it's like to be, you know, in the hospital, like with a terminal diagnosis, fighting for your life, and your complete identity is being taken away from you. And he's Paul Caravello, not Eric Carr.
Right.
Kiss named him Eric Carr. Kiss owned his identity. They pretty much owned him, which was, I think, part of his turmoil, because he was, so creative and free. But they are very shrewd businessmen
Right.
who knew how to protect, their interests in their band, and that was part of the deal.
Right.
That being said, they gave Eric a great gift, being in one of the biggest, most popular bands, commercially successful bands of all time. And what should be added to that is how much Eric contributed
Right.
to that legacy, because they were going down. They
Oh,
were no, they were going down until he joined the band, and he lifted them back up again. And I don't know how many people know, probably a lot, because Kiss fans are fanatics. Like,
yeah.
they know, they come up to me, and they know more about Eric than me. Like, they're like, remember he wore Halston for women? And I'm like, I totally forgot. They're like, yeah, and he had this for breakfast, and I'm like, oh my god, like I like little things like that, you know that
Um,
I
I have this hanging in my house. And I have said before on this channel that this was the record that saved Kiss for the 80s. And part of I mean, like everyone's, and not to get too technical, but everyone says that Eric's drum sound on that album was what like propelled them into heavy metal and the 80s. So I'll stop there anyway. I agree
right.
with
I mean, I came on the scene a little bit later, but I've read the same opinions.
yeah.
And he was an extremely dedicated uh, member and musician. He never took his position lightly. It meant everything to
Yeah.
him to be in Kiss. So that's why, even though I'm hard on Gene and Paul a bit for the way they uh, treat people, but in turn, Eric Carr got to be Paul Caravello got to be Eric Carr and got to be, um, a super, like, what do you call it? Like a legend.
Legend.
Yes, because of that opportunity to be in Kiss. So I guess there's a little trade for everything, and I think he was ahead of his time. Uh, Things have changed, and Eric was the first person I ever knew that really wanted a computer. He used to talk about computers all the time before computers were out. So he would have loved all this new technology that came in. But with all of this, would have given him so many different creative outlets.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, it's kind of sad when I think about that, because I would have loved to see what he would have done, with all this. Because now you don't have to be in one. Well, of course, Gene and Paul, I would say, like, at the time, he was under contract. He couldn't do anything else besides
Right.
do them. But say he was like Bruce Kulick now, he could
Yeah.
still have a relationship, with Kiss and still have his own projects. And I'm sure that's what would have happened.
Right. Right. How long do you think? Well, okay, I'm just gonna ask. Paul said in his book, and if you don't want to answer it, but Paul said, well, you took the drumsticks out of Eric's hands at the funeral.
That's a
And
complete
you
fucking
dispute
lie.
both.
I I can't tell you how hurtful that is.
Right.
First of all, you don't take the most painful moment of my life and exploit it in your book to make money, you gazillionaire. That
Right.
is wrong. That
Right.
is wrong, and I'm going to call you out for it. So, like, you want to hear a spooky story? You know how I found out about it? Not until like a couple of years later. I don't even know when his book came out. I guess a couple of years before 2018. 18 or no, not 19. No, I was 19 when I found out about it. I was in Ireland, and it was Eric's birthday, and Tommy Thayer had contacted me, like, just before, and he saw on social media that I was in Ireland, and he said, "Do you want to come to any of our European shows?" And he gave me the dates, and uh, Scotland was the closest, and I had a girlfriend flying in from LA, and my friend Marty in Belfast is in a Kiss cover band called Hotter Than Hell, and
Oh,
he was going, and like, it's the pressure, like, oh, get us backstage, and I'm like, well, if I don't go, no one can get in, so I have to, like, go. And I thought it would be fun. I went to see the end of the road tour in Las Vegas, and I had a great time, and it was nice to see everybody. Uh, and I had a good attitude about it. And I'm laying there in bed, like, and on the other side of the room is my computer. And this is spooky. I thought I was dreaming. I hear Paul Stanley's voice, like, talking about me. Like, and I'm like, what? Like, I'm like, huh? And literally, I never watch YouTube. I don't leave my computer open with YouTube on it. I still, to this day, that's why I say it's spooky. I don't know how it got there. It was like I was meant to hear it. But it was 2 days before the show in Scottsdale, too late to cancel the flights in the hotel. And I heard that. And I was like, okay, like, this is a message sent, like, it had to be like, Eric, I know everyone's gonna think I'm nuts, but he has contacted me, like, in many different ways over the years.
sure.
And electronically is a big one. And that one, there's no doubt in my mind I was meant to hear that, because I was in the dark. And then when I told my friend Marty, who plays Paul Stanley in the Hotter Than Hell cover band in Belfast, he was like, "Oh yeah, you didn't know about that?" Like, that was. I'm like, "No, I didn't read his book. I didn't. How would I know about that?" And so
Was it the YouTube audio of him
yeah,
reading it?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's reading it. He's reading the audiobook on YouTube. And like I said, I have no idea why my computer started playing on the other side of the room. While I was, and of all things, it plays that. Think about of everything that could have possibly played, like it was that. That's why I say it's spooky, and I was meant to hear it. So, it brought back, of course, the worst memories. I mean, one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life is walk up to Eric's coffin. And I spent 2 days at the wake in front of his coffin in the front row with his family.
Yeah.
Gene didn't come. He was getting liposuction. Paul showed up briefly, and do you know what I did at the time? He came to the front row, to greet me, and you know what I did? I went, "Ah," and I just sobbed into my hands so I didn't have to look at him. I didn't even want to look at him after the way that he treated Eric. And so it brought me back to my mental state at that time. And Paul was just a little no one at Eric's wake, at Eric's funeral. They were like, they had to sit with the fans. Like they were not a part of the family like I was. I was a part of the family. I rode in the limo with the family to the services, and I sat in front, and I was very close to Eric's body, and it was extremely difficult and disturbing. And I didn't need to be reminded of that in the book and be insulted for my place, which was a place of love and loyalty and honoring him.
Yep.
And I did, because his sister told me it was okay, I put like a little photo of us, like I slipped that into his coffin. I did do that. But why would I take his drumsticks? Do you know how many pairs of his drumsticks like I just had? And I've given them away like an idiot over the years. I've just been nice and given them to people. I only have one pair left. They're in my safe deposit box, and I'll never part with them.
Sure.
But I've never sold, his sticks. Like I don't know what the F Paul was thinking, like saying something. And he said this is another thing that makes me think he didn't write his own book. He said he was dating some playmate. First of all, like I wasn't even a playmate like until 1997. Eric died in 1991. So you're sensationalizing to make money on your book. You gazillionaire. I'll say it again without the F word in it this time. But
you can use the F word anytime you want.
I'm calling it out like it is.
Yeah.
You know what? You didn't need, go pick on someone your own size. You know what? Like Eric and I do not need to be picked on by Paul Stanley because Eric's dead and I'm pretty much no one compared to Paul Stanley. You know what? Like I just shouldn't matter. And why do I? Why do I? Why did he have to put that in there? Like what did he think that he would gain by taking away from my experience of honoring the love of my life in his casket by lying and saying I took his drumsticks? And I forgot what else he said. I think he said a couple other negative things I've blocked out of my head. But Paul, everyone has their opinions, and but my experience with him it has been, first of all, he hit on me before I was Eric's girlfriend, and I always wondered if that had something to do with it because he and Eric were pretty competitive with each other. And I write about the story in my book about the 4th of July show when Eric uh, saw me for the first time after we met in Memphis, and um, we made plans, to go out. We had a date, and uh, Paul didn't know that I had a history with Eric, so he was busy hitting on me, and he was trying to convince me. I still remember it to this day. Come back to my room, 220. And then I kept saying no, and I was with my friends, and he said, because he wanted me to get in the limo with the band and leave with them, and I said no, I have to leave with my friends, and he said, then follow us, like room tweet 220, be there, and all that, and then I was, a young intimidated girl, so I was like, okay, I said yes, but I didn't show up.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I was like, okay. And then I just blew him off. And next thing you know, I'm Eric's girlfriend. And
Right.
I was a little bit naive at that back then, because I thought, oh, why would Paul Stanley remember me? But I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did. Now looking back, he probably was like all of a sudden that girl that blew me off is around all the time, and maybe
Right.
it ate away at him. I
Right.
mean, I'll never know for sure if that had anything to do with it, or if he's just a dick, because you know what? That's just like now I wrote a book. I'm aware of the consequences of words,
Yeah.
and like when you say something like that about somebody, like if you attack somebody uh, uh, at their boyfriend's wig, I mean, it's just like outrageously rude.
Yeah.
And I don't know if like is it like a rich celebrity thing? You think you could just like say anything and get away with it, or was it a ghostwriter who was trying to be sensational and read some article about me later in life that I'm a playmate and inserted that
Right.
in there? Either way, I blame Paul, because he had to have proofread his own book.
But,
So no,
but
that was really rude. And
yeah.
I went to the show in Scotland, and we had to stand in line to get our photo taken backstage with the band. And it's there's a lot of chaos, and everyone's like shuffling you where to stand. And I was with another girl, and my friend Marty and his friend were in line behind us, and I specifically decided I will not make eye contact with Paul.
Okay.
So yeah, I when it
Okay.
was my turn to walk up, security was like trying to push me and my friend Dee Dee to like stand in between Gene and Paul, and I went, and I gave Gene a huge hug,
Yeah.
and then I gave Tommy a huge hug, and I gave Eric a huge hug, and then I ignored Paul, and then they tried to make me stand between Gene and Paul for the photo, and I specifically walked to the other side and stood beside, I believe it was Eric Singer side, and I wouldn't stand in the middle. I wouldn't give him the time of day,
Right.
and that was my message. And then since then, I'm sure he's heard about it on social media, but I walked away, and then my friend Marty, who plays him in the cover band, said that he leaned into Tommy Thayer and said some not so nice things about me. So I was like, good.
Right.
I burned him. That's what I meant to do.
So
He
you haven't
deserved
really
it.
talked to him since.
Fuck no. Excuse
Okay.
me for saying the F
Oh,
word, but
swear.
why would I?
Yeah.
I've actually seen him. He frequents a lot of the same uh, restaurants and things that I do, because we must live near each other. But I have always, it's kind of funny, because everyone else on earth would probably be like, oh my God, Paul Stanley, Paul Stanley. No, I see him at the mall, I hide. I see him at the grocery store, I hide. I've seen him like standing like in the alley, like on his cell phones at like places like near where we live. And I'm like, whoa, that weirdo. Why can't I run into like Leonardo DiCaprio or something? How come I'm always running into Paul Stanley? So yeah, I saw him what was the last time? Only once since Scotland.
Okay.
Yeah, at a restaurant in nearby, and I was with a girlfriend, and he was all alone, and she was like, "You should go say something," and I'm like, "No," and I was like, I go, "He sees me, believe me, he knows I'm here. He knows. I don't have to say anything. My presence alone, saying nothing, I think is stronger than saying anything. He knows what he did. I don't
Right.
have to tell him what he did. He knows
Right.
what he did.
Right.
Yeah, and he's not like Gene. Like Gene, you could go up to him and talk about it.
Yeah.
You could,
Yeah.
but Paul's not. He's not like that. I can like. I wouldn't attempt. I wouldn't attempt to try to be real with him.
You mentioned talking to Gene when you were on the cover of Gene Simmons' Tongue magazine, and like saying the things that he did, that those guys did that bothered you. Did he express regret during that conversation about how they handled Eric?
Yeah, yeah, he did,
Okay.
and he expressed to me how much he loved Eric,
Yeah.
but mainly I think he let me speak, and I appreciate that. Um, you know, I think I used to say everyone was doing the best that they could with the knowledge that they had at the time.
Right.
That was my politically correct way of getting through the questions and also having some peace in my heart so I could move on in life without anger and
Sure.
hatred. And that's why I'm like, you know, if Paul hadn't wrote that in his book, like maybe I could still have that attitude,
Right.
but it just seemed it seemed malicious.
Yeah.
And then it brings you back to going, well, the way he treated Eric was pretty malicious as well. Maybe he is just malicious.
Right.
But then again, I mean, I probably shouldn't believe everything that I read or see on social media, but I don't know. It seems like he's old with a lot of plastic surgery and humble now. I mean, he's still, he looks good.
Yeah.
I don't mean it as cruel as it sounds, but um, yeah, he looks uh, he looks good. He looks happy, and I'm hoping that with I mean, when I knew him, he was the single guy
Yeah.
in the band. And I think he was jealous because everybody else had somebody. Bruce had Christina, Gene had Shannon, Eric had me, and Paul was always alone.
Right.
And, he's now been married twice. And how many kids? Like four or something.
Yeah.
And, I think those things do change people. He perhaps learned how to love. I'm making excuses for Paul Stanley. Do you see? I'm too nice. I'm too nice. Yes, I'm way too nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Dang it. Don't do that. I'm just kidding. Um,
No, I'm calling myself out on it. Like I shouldn't make excuses. It should be him
right.
apologizing and him making amends, and not me making excuses for his poor behavior.
Right. But I don't know, you probably come from the motherly point of view of trying to, find the best and look over people. I'm just assuming. Anyway.
Oh well, some things make no sense.
Right.
Um, a lot of things that seem evil make no sense, and I've experienced it more than I want to admit. But when I've encountered these situations, I just have to say, you know what? You don't think like that person.
Right.
Some
Right.
people chop other people up and eat them for dinner, and you don't think that way. So
Right.
you can never understand somebody that thinks that way.
Right.
So, like, trying to get in the mind of somebody that just doesn't think like you is a complete waste of time. You just have to say, I don't think like that person.
Right.
So, yeah, it's baffling to me, and I will not understand it. But yeah, like why somebody with so much you could offer, like and positivity and interesting stories, and like why try to take me down and take something away,
Right.
like from me that is the most precious, like,
Is it
and
all
vulnerable
just to
to me.
sell a couple more books? I mean, I don't know.
I honestly don't think that I'm powerful enough to sell books for Paul Stanley. I think he can sell them on his own.
Right.
He doesn't need me, which is like makes it even crazier.
Right.
You know?
Okay. And thank you for, I appreciate you going into, you're so awesome. So,
Thank you.
how long, so Eric passes away, and I'm probably going to ask this wrong because I don't know how to ask it, but how long do you feel like, was there a point where you felt like, okay, I can move on, I can see other people, like, not that you got over it, I don't want to imply that, but when did you feel like, okay, I can kind of go forward after Eric?
Um, it took me about 4 years to even smile,
Okay.
sincerely smile.
Yeah.
Um, I delved into my acting career and some spiritual practices, um, trying to deeply understand the meaning of life and
Right.
death, and you know, um, and then I think I came into my own in 1997 when I became a playmate, and I reached that status of um, it was pretty much, my moment, my rock star moment. And I was so busy. Uh, I was in demand professionally, personally. I was traveling the world, and I had a, a new identity, that wasn't,
Right.
before I was just, even though he was gone for years, I felt like it's a, I just felt damaged. I felt like damaged goods, and I felt like everyone could see it. Like I just
Yeah.
walked around like feeling like everyone could see my pain, and I felt like there was just a giant X across me,
Right.
and for years, and then that lifted when I became a playmate. My confidence came back, and um, I stepped into my power, and I'm not going to say like I've always felt like I can move on,
Yeah.
because I never can.
Right.
I never can. No,
Right.
no relationship of mine since has let me. Like Eric is always a part of my relationship. He's omnipresent because everybody knows how much he means to me,
Yeah.
and I have had many a relationship since, and you know, it's terrible. Like some of them just say I could never be the love of your life because you would have married Eric if he had stayed
Right.
alive, and I'm like, that's mean. And then even the most recent one had asked me a ton of questions about him in the beginning of the relationship, just so like when he needs to hurt me, he can like just bring him up and throw in a dagger. It's like, yeah, it's really it's awful.
Yeah.
That's why I said sometimes it's a curse, because
Sure.
yeah, yeah, I'll just I think it's everyone says I was so lucky to have been with him,
Right.
but I'm sitting here like without him
Yeah.
all of these years later, and it hurts.
I mean,
So it hurts that he's not here. I still I have I just right before we started talking, I opened my closet. There's a belt hanging in my closet that he bought for me. And like sometimes I just look at things that I still have that he got for me, and I'm like, how is that still here? But he's not.
Right.
Like, it's a
I'm sure. And I mean, just as a fan of Kiss, I'm sure that some guy trying to date you, that's probably intimidating, trying to follow up, you know, Eric Carr or
but it was, it was it was a very long time ago.
yep,
It's not like Eric can swoop in and take me away.
yep,
Um, so I have not really understood the threat or
yep,
the jealousy, but um, and I don't rub it in anyone's
yeah,
face. That wouldn't be right either.
sure. Well, I mean, I well, you look amazing and you're awesome to talk to, so I'm sure there's going to be opportunities for whatever my opinion's worth. Um, I was going to ask, so were you apprehensive at all about doing Playboy? Like, oh shit, I'm going to get naked in a magazine and everyone's going to see it. Were you apprehensive?
No,
Okay.
no. I I did it late in life. I mean, most playmates are like, you know,
Right.
between 19 and 23.
Right.
I was old for a playmate when I did it. I was 27, and it came out on my 28th birthday.
Right.
And yeah, I was ready, and um, I was I was a small town girl where you don't say you want to be a model or an actress, never mind a playmate. But by that point, I had been in LA for a while, and been on screen, been around the scene. I'm like, my mother was an artist. There was always nudes, you know,
Right.
nude paintings around our house. Like
Right.
nudity growing up was not something that I was taught was a bad thing. I was
Right.
raised very liberally. So to think the human body is beautiful,
Right.
um, based on art history.
Right.
So, no, that was never a huge challenge. No.
Well, I saw your Playboy, and trust me, the human body is beautiful. Kidding. I like to joke around a little bit. Anyway,
Thank you.
anyway, in 1999, you get the opportunity to go to the Super Bowl, and not only is your ex-boyfriend's band playing there, Kiss, but you hook up with John Elway, who is arguably the most famous football player in the world at that time. Is that
And I ran into him about a month ago. Isn't that
no
crazy?
shit?
I hadn't seen him in 20 years.
Oh,
And I went to a restaurant called Craig's in LA, and he was there.
okay,
And yeah, we spoke for about 20 minutes. And
okay.
it
How
was
was that?
he was cool. I
Okay,
mean, I I I apologized to him for writing about him in a book. I
okay,
mean, I do know him very well because we had a long relationship, but and that was pretty much like his worst fear is that I would write anything publicly about him. But I explained to him you know that the book was about my life. I didn't write it to take anyone down. I wrote it about my experiences. And I talked to him a lot about our breakup, and how I had realized what he was going through at the time. He had just lost his 20-year marriage,
yeah,
his football career. He just retired.
yeah,
His dad died of a heart attack. His twin sister died of lung cancer, and all of that was coming out at me. And he told me back then, he wished he had met me later in life when he had a chance to work all of that out. So we had a touching conversation um, about that, and yeah, reminisced, like we
yeah.
had good times together. It was all good, it's
Would
all
would
good.
would you say was he the and I know I'm getting personal, so feel free not to answer. Would you say he was the closest you got to maybe getting married? Or
Absolutely. And I think I told him that that night. I think I did. Yes, I did. I did. I did tell him that. Yeah, he is the closest I ever came to actually marrying anyone. I mean, we had real plans for that.
yeah, okay. Well, I mean that's shocking. I mean, that dude was on top of the world when you guys.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun together. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and that was crazy because I'd never been to a football game in my whole life, and my high school didn't even have football. Then I went to do a job for Playboy to host a party for the Broncos. I was like, is that a hockey team? I didn't even know. And then, yeah, you got to read the book. It's a great
yeah,
two chapters of him,
yeah.
and yeah, and then yeah, and then especially when Kiss came on stage during halftime, and I had no idea who was playing halftime, and then it was like my past and my future coming together like all in one, and it was just like I probably write about it better than I'm telling it
So
in the
it's
book.
yeah. Okay. In 2001, you got a role in the Rockstar movie playing Zach Wilde's wife. Like that's a major motion picture, and you get
Yeah.
a pretty decent role. I mean, that must have been pretty exciting.
Oh, it was. It was like, like my dream. I always thought like I just need a small part in a big movie.
Right.
And that was just, I mean, it was honestly, I'm cutting to the end of the story. I didn't date the director at the time of filming.
Yeah.
It wasn't until almost a year later.
Yeah.
Um, he was asking me out on set, but I said no. And he was married.
Yeah.
And but it was just like it was so cool to recreate the 80s and to be I already knew like almost everybody like in the cast, and if I didn't, I got to know them very well, and everybody um had, I'm not saying like everyone, but guys in the rock scene specifically have a certain respect for me because I was Eric's girlfriend.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. I appreciate that I get treated with respect
Yeah.
on Eric's behalf. Um, so I was kind of like, one of the guys, and it's been like that um, pretty much since, like when I hang out with rocker guys, we all toast to Eric and
Yeah.
remember him, and um, being on that set, being Zach's wife, Zach Wilde's
Yeah.
wife, that was really cool. That's another great story of my in my book from yeah, when I was on a flight to New York to see Eric once, and Zach was on my flight to go see his now wife Barbara,
Yeah.
and that's back when you know everyone walked each other to their, in the olden days, before all the security, you could go to the airport bar,
Yeah.
walk your friend to the gate, like walk around freely.
Yeah.
And my friend and I had met Zach in the bar before the flight, and Zach was in first class and I was in coach, and he gave up his first class seat to come sit and coach with me. It was like a red eye, and we like drank the whole flight, and uh then I must have passed out. I remember a flight attendant like shaking me, like waking me up to get off the plane. And then I got off the plane and Eric was standing there and he goes, "Guess who was on your flight? Zach Wild."
Right.
And then I was so sick from all the drinking that like I barfed all the way into Manhattan. And
Right.
and then I didn't see Zach for 10 years. And
Yeah.
then I get cast as his wife in
Right.
the movie. So I show up on set and I'm like, remember me from that flight to New York?
Right.
Yeah, so it's pretty funny. It's like I said, it's a small world. You just never know.
That movie probably would have been really big, but I think it came out like 4 days
It came out
before.
on like, yeah, the premiere was okay, 9/11. I forget exactly what day the premiere was, but it was
Like
right
the
around.
7th or something like that?
Yeah, it was something like that. It was very
Yeah.
close. It was very close to 9/11, and uh I already wasn't going to go to the premiere because I was pregnant with the director's child by then.
Yeah.
Cut to,
Yep.
I mean, it takes a long time to get a movie like prepped. Like I went
Yep.
to all the like the screenings with him and
Yep.
everything. Um, I don't know. He loved me until I was pregnant, and then it was like, bye bye, you're pregnant. That's another thing. Like, let's compare him to Paul Stanley for a minute. You just can't get in the mind of people that don't think like you do. So I'll never understand it. Had to
Right.
drop it. But yeah, that uh, you just have to like shake your head and move on sometimes. But yeah, that aside from, I knew it would be the movie that changed my life. I just thought it would change my life in the way of like I would be the next Jennifer Aniston. I didn't think I was going to be like an only parent. I
Right.
thought I was going to be, Jennifer Aniston. Oh well.
Right.
But it was still a great experience, and I'm like during those days, of filming, and I'm not in the movie much, but I was on set for a whole month,
Yep.
and like we just had so much fun.
Um,
Um, Brad Pitt would come and visit Jennifer Aniston on the set, and she would make margaritas for everybody. And we all
right.
sat outside our trailers in lawn chairs because most of the times it was such a big budget film. Like we had nothing to do. I waited like a month before I even said my lines.
All right.
And, yeah, and it was just like a party, and like rumors were swirling around LA like about that set and how it was just like this one big crazy party, and that was pretty true. I
Yeah.
spent all my mornings with Jeff Pilson from Dawkins, who's now Foreigner.
Yep.
All my mornings in his trailer, he would make us espresso, and we'd mostly talk about Eric,
Yeah.
And in the afternoons, I'd be hanging out with Zach and um, Jason Bonham, and
Yeah.
everybody else, like Playmate Heidi Mark, who was married to Vince Neil.
That's right.
Yeah, and like Rachel Hunter, like yeah, we all had fun. We went to Rachel's house on the weekends, and Rod Stewart would be there on Sundays. She'd have parties and have us over. That was like, gosh, when I look back at my life, I'm like, I had a good life. I
Hell
used to be at
yeah.
the Playboy Mansion all the time. Like, I literally spent 20 years at the Playboy Mansion.
Yeah.
Um, and pretty much like since then, I've no social life.
I mean,
But
reading the book and you kind of made and you said your son even kind of reminded you look at all the things that you did that to somebody like me is like holy shit. Like you did some amazing stuff. So
yeah, it was pretty funny. I went to my son's, he works at the Burbank Airport fueling private jet planes, and
yep.
I went to his company Christmas party the other night, and his boss said he introduced me to an actress that was in bikini movies in the 50s, and he said, "Oh, she's Miss." He said, "What beer is it?" And I said, probably Killian's Irish Red, but I've probably done beer ads for every beer that like you can name.
Yeah.
But Killian's was my main one because I was like Miss Killian's for 3 years.
Yep.
And I said, "Did my son tell you that I was Miss June 1997 too?" And he goes, "No, he didn't tell me that." And I was like, "Oh, he left that part out."
Right.
So,
Right.
but and I amused everyone. I'm sure.
I'm sure. So you mentioned the director of Rockstar. You got pregnant, and if you read the book, I think probably the part where you tend to get the most like visceral reaction was hearing how he handled your pregnancy and just kind of and
Yes, if I could take the stiletto off the top of Micah's shoe rack here and put it through his eyeball and twist it a few times, I would have lived a full life.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I know he deserves that. Anyone that abandons their child deserves that. And I will say that loud and clear.
Yeah.
Anyone can quote me.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Unfortunately, yeah, I got involved with the wrong guy. Like, I thought he was I wasn't the only one that was wrong. All my friends told me he was the nicest guy I've ever dated. They thought he was normal because he
Yeah.
didn't have long hair, he wasn't a rocker. So they were like glad I was with a normal guy. You know what? Don't judge a book by its cover. That guy is not normal. It is not normal to abandon your
Yes.
pregnant girlfriend and your child. And you know what? It had he had a problem with me, that's one thing, but you don't abandon a life you created
Right.
over it. And as far as I know, by the way, and I'm a fighter, I do fight. Like I'm not gonna lie. I do. I've got a mouth on me. I'm Irish, I've got a sharp tongue. You don't want to argue with me. I'll win. But that guy, uh, I don't even know what to call him. I don't even like to call him the father of my child. He's this mistake, whatever he is. But he uh, what do you call somebody? I don't even know a name for him. I'm stuck in that going, there's baby daddy. No, he's not that. Uh,
Sperm donor?
nah, yeah, I don't even want to give his sperm credit. That's how bad he is. Like, I don't even want to give him his that. Like, yeah, like, well, what I was saying is that, okay, so
Yep.
he had no reason because I never actually had an argument or a fight. There was no reason for us to break up. Like, it was purely, and he told me that he wanted 3 kids. That he was happy I was pregnant. He wanted to like shout it from the rooftops.
Yeah.
So he led me to believe that we were doing this together. And then one day, unbeknownst, I don't know why to this day, he not only just disappeared um, out of my life, but I tried for the first 4 years that my son to reach out and try to get
Yeah.
him to be involved, and then I gave up. One day, I let my son wanted to talk to him. He was 4 years old, and I said, "What would you say if you could talk to him?" And he said, "I would say, Daddy, I look up in the sky and I wonder if you're up there in that airplane." And it's going like, it was just like a sweet little boy. And I said, "Okay." So I dialed this number and I let my son talk. And you know what? He never responded. And after that, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to try anymore. I'm not going to try.
Right.
So,
Right.
you know what? It's his loss. I have, my son is my pride and joy.
Yeah.
He is so stable. He's about to leave for, he's with me now, but he's about to leave because he got a job working for the government as an air
Okay.
traffic controller. So
Okay.
he's going to training. He completed Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University and got recruited by the government to work
Good for
in air
him.
traffic. Yeah. So, he's solid. He's a drummer. Got great taste in music, um, like we love to rock out together and go
Yeah.
to shows together, and he's a better version of me.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud that I did it all by myself. And it didn't take long. It wasn't it was just after when I decided to let it go. After the first 4 years and that phone call, I decided to just let it go.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized how much better off I was than everyone else. Because when my son was in preschool, everybody, was coupled, they were all married. And by the time elementary school came around, everybody was getting divorced. Everybody had their kids like 1 week off, 1 week on, like the fighting over custody. Da, da, da. And I was like, you know what? I'm so glad I get to make every decision on my own.
Right.
And, I am responsible for the way that this child turns out, and no one else is going to influence him. And now I get to take all the credit and I get to enjoy all of the pride.
Right.
And
Did
he doesn't
did
get any, and he missed out.
did,
And
did
that's probably worse than a stiletto in his eyeball at
hell
the end of the day.
yes. Hell yes.
Mhm.
Did did he reach out after the book? Was there any issues with him, if I can ask?
What's he gonna say?
True.
No, no, I researched this because you don't want to get sued,
Right.
And I knew no big celebrity would sue me because all it does is, first of all, I didn't say anything bad enough about anybody to get sued, um, and all it would have done was give me publicity for my book had that happened.
Right.
Anyway, and I did edit a lot of things out, by the way, especially about John Elway, because, like I said, I did not write the book to ruin anybody's lives or hurt anyone. I was just telling my story. And he should have thanked me when I saw him a month ago because he damn well knows what I could have said, and I didn't.
Right.
And as far as director of the movie, person who impregnated me, you know what? His karma is his career never went anywhere. After that, his career did not go anywhere, and I have no way of knowing whether he actually read the book or not. But
Yeah.
what's really funny is that if you Google him, do you know what comes up? Carrie Stevens, Carrie's book. I, my son's last name is my last name, not his.
Right.
His last name's Herrick. Jackson Herrick comes up. I don't know why. And we just laugh about it because I just hijacked his entire identity with my own fame. And he's been married he's been married 3 times. And it says former spouse on the internet, Carrie Stevens. I've never been married to him. He
Right.
has a daughter named Samantha. She's not mentioned anywhere, but my son is the one that he
Right.
abandoned.
Yeah.
So we haunt him through the internet. And I laugh about this because I'm sure he thinks that I did it, but I had nothing. I wouldn't know how to do something like that. It's just, I guess, probably keywords and whatever, like the internet picks up article, like what we're doing. Like eventually, like, yeah, there's an association, and I um I think he deserves that because he
Yeah.
hijacks my life. He altered it forever and created a new life that he took no responsibility for.
Right.
So the least the internet can do for me is hijack his. So now basically whether he likes it or not, he's associated with us. He tried
Right.
not to be,
Right.
but he is.
Yeah.
Thanks, internet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
During the Me Too movement, you kind of blew up all over the place with a tweet about Oliver Stone.
Yeah, I didn't. I do some stupid shit. I didn't mean that. Like, I honestly, like, sometimes I underestimate myself. I honestly thought nobody would see or pay attention to anything that I write or post. I've since, like, tried to be more careful.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
I mean, I honestly, I'm an idiot. Like, I honestly did not know that grabbing someone's boob was assault.
Right.
And you know who have informed me of that? Christina, formerly Kulik, Bruce's wife, who's still my dear friend.
Yeah.
And she's a talent manager and agent, and I work with her too.
Yeah.
And she's the one that told me because I called her. I'm like, oh my god, like, and like when it was blowing up all over the internet, and she was getting requests for interviews and calling me, and I was like, well, I didn't mean, I really didn't mean to say that he assaulted me. And she said, well, grabbing someone's boob is, she said, that is assault. And I'm like, oh shit, like I did not mean, I didn't mean it, like, honestly. Yeah, he's obnoxious. I remember thinking it was weird and awkward and like at the
Right.
time, but I thought us like just rape was assault. Like I really didn't understand the implications.
Right.
So I'm not sure that I would make the same choice
Right.
again. Like if I had to do it over, I'd probably stay out of it. I didn't mean to get that kind of attention. Even though, okay, Melissa Gilbert came right after me and spoke out against Oliver Stone. I guess he does have a history worth calling out, or other people wouldn't have. And she's was the president of the Screen Actors Guild.
And Melissa
she
Gilbert
wasn't just on Little House on the Prairie.
Melissa Gilbert from Little House on the Prairie. Anyway,
right, but she's also the president of the Screen Actors Guild at the time, so extremely credible person. And I find myself like side by side in the media next to her and all these other huge celebrities that are speaking out against the biggest directors, but I'm the one that hasn't worked with it. I didn't actually work with any of them, so it seemed a little bit like unfair that like I kind of got thrown in there. And honestly, I really just I saw a tweet from the Hollywood Reporter that said Oliver Stone was sticking up for Harvey Weinstein, and I said, two of a kind. I remember him grabbing my boob when I left a party. So I was just kind of like writing like I would chit chat with anyone.
Yep.
I'm super friendly. That's the Irish in me too. Like I'll talk to anybody. I know, and a lot of people tell me when I meet them that if they've known Eric, that I remind them of Eric because he was that way.
Yeah.
He was unpretentious, not snobby. He was always friendly and chit chatty with everyone.
Yeah.
That makes me proud, that people compare me to him. But yeah, I was just being me, basically. I should be more careful being me publicly, because after that, I mean, like everyone, all the media, like every media outlet follows me now. So I have to go, like, be careful, like what I say.
Do you think did that end up hurting your career?
Yeah, I think so. I think it did. Even a close friend of mine who's in the business, producer director. Right after that, I remember having lunch with him, and he was like, Carrie, well, we can't hire you because we can't run the risk. Like if someone brushes by you, you're going to sue them. And I'm like, I never sued anyone. Like I've never sued anyone for anything. And by the way, the Me Too movement has basically hurt every industry for attractive women. I mean, they won't even hire attractive waitresses and hostesses, where that used to be like the thing. Like they want like the good looking people to like be working there.
Yep.
And I've been told by a lot of different women now in industries that they actually avoid hiring attractive women now because they don't want any lawsuits or consequences. So inadvertently, the Me Too movement ended up hurting women, in my opinion. I don't think it did a whole lot of good. I think there was some good that came out of it.
Yep.
I think that, yes, the fear had to be instilled in the powers that be, so they would stop abusing their power, over women in the industry. But at the same time, it was so exaggerated that much smaller industries were hurt, and women who are not very visible, but still need to be. Hey, everybody needs to work. Everyone needs money. So like you shouldn't. It was a different kind of prejudice for being attractive that came with it. So we got rid of one prejudice. We got rid of the sex exploitation kind of thing. But then we got completely abandoned and left out of opportunities as well. So I'm not so sure that was a success.
I completely hear what you're saying. Like people, sometimes the other consequences aren't visible until later on, and a lot of people got hurt in the end. Anyway.
No, yeah, they did. And like I said, like I never meant to put myself like at the forefront of it. It was basically just a a little memory that I posted, like in response to that suddenly my son's like, Mom, you're trending in Japan. Mom, you're trending in Australia. I'm like, what? And I went into his room and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like the whole thing was just like shocking. I didn't know my little, like, I should just stay off social media. Like, I mean, honestly, like, no, if it was something that, um, I'd be proud if it was something that, like, I felt like made a positive impact. But like I said, I'm not so sure that, I'm not so sure. Not only am I not sure that the movement was entirely positive, but I kind of feel bad because I'm not so sure that Oliver Stone deserved that
Right.
completely. And I didn't mean to come out and say, he's a casting couch rapist or anything, because I did never have that experience, and no one gave me the opportunity to talk about that.
Right.
Like I was literally, it was right after Eric died. I was so young, and I was invited to a party that Ted Field had, and he produced Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. God gave rock and roll to you, and that was on the soundtrack. So I knew Ted
Yeah.
through meeting him through Eric, and he kind of, became a good friend. Like, kind of, after Eric died, and he invited me to this party, and Oliver Stone was there. He was on, I think it was to honor him for whatever big movie he had at the time. And he was like, we were by the front door. He was just like walking out, and he went honk to my boob like a horn. He just did that. Like, it wasn't what I would say is assault, especially because it was within a group of people.
Yeah.
It was rude, yes.
Yeah.
It was weird, yes.
Right.
But at the time, I wasn't traumatized. I didn't call a personal injury attorney. It was just like a moment in time where I just thought, what a weirdo. I'm like,
Right.
creepy. So creepy weirdo to me doesn't equal blast you all over the world for being a sex offender. So I feel a little bit remorseful about that. But then again, I didn't say that. Like, it was the media that jumped on that. I
Right.
never said that. And honestly, I don't know. Melissa Gilbert says that he casting couched her. Of course, I believe her, but that wasn't me. I was just a girl standing by the front door at a party. That's all.
Right. Yeah, thanks for explaining that. Because you weren't calling for his head or anything. You just kind of relayed a little story was all you did. I mean, it seemed like to me.
Yeah, that's all it was meant to be. Of course, I condone any woman speaking out against anyone who assaulted her or
Yeah.
harassed her sexually.
Yeah.
I've had many worse experiences than the Oliver Stone one, and that's why I kind of feel like, you know I I just don't know if that was justified, the way that it was blown up the way it was.
Right. At the end of the book, you talk about going to a Kiss expo and talking about Eric with all the Kiss fans, and I just thought are you surprised he died 34 years ago? The anniversary was a month ago. Are you surprised that you're still so closely associated to Eric Carr and Kiss?
Um, Not surprised.
Okay.
I mean, I deal with it all the time. I mean, I deal with it. I mean, every anniversary, every birthday, every time. I've got fans writing to me pretty much every day, um, for all these years, and
Mhm.
most of them are very nice. Most of them are cool. Most of them tell me how much they appreciate me for being there for him. But then I've inherited a couple fucking whack jobs. Sorry, I throw the F bomb out a lot, but
Fucking
they,
A, so
you
do
know,
I.
I've inherited so many whack jobs from Kiss fans. I don't know. I'm trying to think if I have any from Playboy. If I do, it's murky. I'm not really sure if it's my Playboy thing or something else, but the Kiss ones? Oh my God, I've had like death threats from Kiss fans. I've had people claiming that I'm hiding Eric's dead body, that he's really alive, and I'm keeping it a secret. I've had people tell me that I killed him. Like, like it's been like it. Trust me, it used to ruin my day. I'd get home like from a normal day and open my email. You know, everyone's going to email me through my website now. There's social media. Like it's easy to get to anybody,
Yeah.
and I'd get like these crazy messages, and it used to just like ruin my days. Um, uh, yeah, I've had stalkers and extortionists, threat like people, the craziest people and most dangerous people that have been in my world have been Kiss fans. And I don't think that's fair. It really pisses me off
Right.
because all I've tried to do is honor Eric
Yeah.
and keep his memory alive. And I don't deserve that.
Right.
I don't deserve that. And that's some of the times where I just go, you know what? Life sucks. It's unfair, and Eric's in a better place for not having to deal with them. And unfortunately, I inherited his crazy fans, so I've had to deal with them.
I have
Yeah, one was quite recently, so it's kind of like a sting.
sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
I got kind of like conned by one of them recently, followed by death threats to me and my son. Like, what? Like
Wow.
seriously, you call yourself an Eric fan? Yeah, runs a Kiss website. I don't want to say which one in case he comes after me and kills me, like he threatened to. But yeah, conned me out of my most personal Eric Carr items. Um,
Oh man.
yeah, it was pretty bad.
Oh
Yeah, he
shit.
deserves to be exposed, but you know, it's not one of those things I should talk about. I hate that I'm letting anyone put me, in a place of fear of speaking. And anytime somebody takes my voice away, to me, that's a violation.
Right.
And yeah, but I want everybody to be aware.
Yeah.
Um, I wish I had been like a little more aware of the internet. When you post personal things about yourself, you invite people in that take advantage of vulnerable people.
Right.
So yeah, I've had to learn that the hard way like a few times now. But I was really disappointed in the recent one because I thought he really cared about Eric and his
Right.
legacy, and he fooled me deeply. And then I saw the items on eBay and realized he was just trying to get things out of me to get money and not to honor Eric. It was
Ah,
really disappointing. Yeah, it's
okay.
yeah, it's just disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good that comes from the internet, keeping in touch with people and all this stuff, but man, that's I'm so sorry. That's horrible. I can't imagine. Um,
Well, it was even worse that I can say publicly. It was terrorizing.
did you
Um,
get any and obviously don't answer this if you don't, but I mean, was law enforcement involved? Was there anything you could do?
no, basically, the threats. Um, this person threatened many different things and threatened to have associations to be able to carry them out through. And I don't know
Okay.
if he's real or not.
Okay.
And law enforcement is pretty much, they're not going to do anything. I
Okay.
mean, listen, uh, unless somebody actually does kill you,
Right.
or like I've learned this from having other stalkers. They can send me anything they want. They carefully do not use the words "I will kill you,"
Right.
unless somebody actually has like a specific death threat.
Right.
They can dance around those words in a lot of different ways, and they can scare you. They can terrorize you. They can like threaten your child. They can do a lot of stuff.
Right.
Uh, they can rattle your world and um, but no, what law enforcement, they're not going to do anything unless somebody. I had a stalker, a Kiss fan for Jesus, I forgot how many years, at least 30, like forever,
Right.
but like I didn't know the guy's real name because he had an alias. And
Right.
eventually I found out, I can't say how online, but I found out um after him stalking me for 30 years, what his real name was, and reported him. And they were not going, law enforcement almost wasn't going to do anything about it because he didn't, same old thing. He
Right.
didn't directly threaten your life. And I'm like, well, he finds me wherever I go. He writes to my family, to my managers, to the Playboy offices, to like, he'll say, I've had Kiss's security. I've had to call Gene Simmons for help for this guy, like over the years. And like this, like Eric's sister has gone through the same thing with him. I mean, it's
Right.
just, it was, so I managed to show them everything, and then um I'm pretty sure they didn't tell me, but they must have had a little chit chat with him because
Right.
I haven't heard from him since, and that was since 2020.
Okay.
So yeah, so sometimes law enforcement does help. I'll say that I think they did help in that case finally. But that, you know it's a great, actually I should tell you how I finally found out who he was, because he went through an alias. So but every time I got a letter in the mail with no return address typed, I knew, it's him again.
Wow.
And he's like, thinks he's speaking, for Eric from the dead, and like he thinks I've sided with Gene and Paul, and I'm against Eric in his crazy mind, and like he writes me these psycho letters, and yeah, well, how we found out who he was is because Eric saved everything. Eric saved everything,
Right.
and his sister Loretta uh, saves everything.
Right.
And so she found the business card that he had given Eric back in the 80s that
Okay.
had an actual address on it.
Okay.
So that's how I was able to uh, find him,
Okay.
like that address, because I have a friend that's a private detective, so I was able to just provide the address, and it led straight back to his real name and everything about him. And
Wow.
then, and yes, so it was basically Eric helping me from the dead, which is why I'm telling you the story. It's because Eric saved that business card that I was able, and his sister thankfully saved it, and she, yeah, that's how I mean, I hope by I'm usually very careful not to talk about these things um, publicly, because if he does hear me speaking of him, like they get a rise out of it, like,
Yeah.
ooh, I'm getting attention.
Right.
They're sick that way. You don't want to give them attention. Um, but the message I am sending is that yes, we know who you are, we know where you live, and it's documented by authorities. So do not mess with me again. Yeah.
Right. Well, amen. Holy shit. That's wild.
Over
Um,
30 years, that guy bothered me. Yeah. Well, a psycho. Like, listen,
yeah.
from talking to me, I am not like against Eric. I'm not like, I never turned on Eric. Like, he would see pictures of me like at the Playboy Mansion with Gene, because Gene's always there. We'd get photographed together, and he'd make like laser copies and write me evil letters on the back and like send them out. And it's like, dude, did you read my book? Have you ever like looked at a podcast or read an
Yeah.
interview about what I say?
Yeah.
I am not like team anyone except Team Eric, and I'm just who I am. Like
Yeah.
I just speak my truth, and I didn't go side with, obviously, if anyone knows me, I certainly didn't go side with Paul Stanley. You know, like I
Right.
didn't side with anybody. Like I'm
Right.
my own person, and I'm sure that, like, you know what, um, I'm still friends with a lot of people in the Kiss camp. I'm great friends. I love Bruce. You know, like,
Mhm.
but it's not like it like it. I don't know what this guy was thinking. Well, no, okay, I forgot. We can't get in the mind of people like him because we
Right.
don't think like them.
Right.
Yeah, so that was insane. But the one that I had recently was like scarier. Um, yeah, it was. Uh, yeah, it's a curse. You know
Yeah.
what? And you know what? I finally just told him after he kept threatening me. I was like, you know what? Go ahead and kill me because you're making me so freaking miserable that I don't care if I die. So bring it on.
Right. Wow.
Anyway, I just said that to like, but like seriously, in the moment, he was like, oh no, in that moment, he made my life like so unbearable that I said that, and he's like, oh, you're a drama queen. PayPal me $7,500. I'm like, really? Like, yeah, I tried to like completely like extort me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, it's listen. This is why the only reason I'm even risking my ask by talking about it, because he's a Kiss fan and he'll probably see this, is that, you know what? I want other people to be aware that they're out there
Yeah.
without naming names.
Right.
You know what?
Right.
Everyone that hits you up online and says, "I care
Right.
about you because I cared about Eric," you know what? They are full of BS. They
Right.
don't care. They're scamming you
Right.
for whatever they can get out of you, and that's what happened to me.
Okay.
I also think that speaking a little bit is good because it lets somebody know
Right.
that I'm not somebody that you know you can push around. That I do have a presence and a voice, and
And I think
and
so I'm sorry. I think some of these guys feed on the fact that, oh, well, they'll never say anything.
oh yeah, you're absolutely right. They think that women like us will never say anything. Do you know what? When threatening me and getting Eric's things and money out of me didn't work anymore, he started to contact my son and threaten my son. Your mother has 30 minutes to call us. Okay, time's up. You're like or we're going to like basically like send people to have me killed. I was really bad,
Yeah.
and I blocked him on everything. I blocked every number he tried to come. I like I one time screamed at him when he called me from another number, and I said, "You sold Eric's things." I just screamed that and then hung up.
Yeah.
And then uh, he started threatening my son, and I told my son not to engage,
Yeah.
you know, with him. He goes, "Well, mom," he goes, "he thinks you're crazy." He goes, "He thinks you're bipolar, so just like let him think that." And I go, "I don't even know this person. Like, I don't even know this guy to like be able to like who's diagnosing
Right.
me. I don't even know him. What does he think I'm bipolar because I had the balls to scream at him? Then let him think I'm crazy.
Right.
Like, yeah, you know what? Let him think it. So yeah, like I guess he thinks I'm crazy because I didn't fall for his death threats and his extortion, and I screamed at him and blocked him, and I pretty much said, "Yeah, you want to threaten to kill me? Go ahead and do it because you're making my life so miserable that I
Right.
don't give a fuck. So you messed with the wrong girl."
Right.
Like, yeah, and then yeah, I think that what his definition of crazy is unable to manipulate.
Right. Wow. That's that's insane. I don't even know what to say. That's
Yeah, he gives
I'm
all Kiss
sorry.
fans a really bad name.
Does.
He makes me like afraid, which is sad because I've had a lot of great connections with Kiss fans over the years, and met wonderful people, and like really made me feel like there's good people in the world, and people that I were my people, you know, that really understood me, and my connection with Eric. You know, and then one bad seed comes along like that and ruins everything, and then you don't trust people anymore.
Right.
You know,
Well,
yes, and I won't let that happen. I'm not going to let him damage me. So you can call me crazy, bipolar, whatever. The fucking guy doesn't even know me. He can call me whatever he wants, but it's because he took advantage of me for about 2 minutes when I was going through something rough in my life.
Right.
And then I've looked back on my Facebook messages now, and I'm going, oh my God, he's been trying this since 2017. I didn't read the messages until like very recently. And unfortunately I responded to one, and now I go, oh, do not talk to strangers. Like, don't talk to strangers. And but it's really sad that someone like him goes and ruins the potential to meet wonderful people because he was so evil.
Right.
And if I let him do that, then he wins.
Right.
Yes. So instead, like, I speak out about it and acknowledge it, and that's all I can do. I'm not gonna like leave the country. Oh, I mean, if I leave the country, it's gonna be because I want to, not because somebody like chased me out. Oh no, he threatened to have me killed no matter where I go in the whole world. By the way, we're everywhere, as if he's like all powerful. Yeah.
Well, I hope 99% of the Kiss fans that you meet are good, because that sounds like an extreme nutcase.
I've met some really amazing, so wherever there's large numbers, there's going to be some bad seeds.
Yes.
In the bunch. So,
especially on the internet.
Oh yeah. Well, the internet is unfortunately, like, when I wanted to be an actress and a model, when I was with Eric back in the olden days before the internet, we were untouchable. Like, you couldn't reach a celebrity, and now it's all about the opposite. It's all about being reachable.
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
Right.
I don't like that at all.
I was going to ask this: was there anything that you regretted putting in the book, or anything you regretted putting
honestly,
in?
if I were to rewrite it, I would say a lot more than I did.
Okay.
I edited myself to protect family and friends.
Sure.
Like, I promised my sister that I wouldn't say anything bad about my mother. And I edited myself to preserve relationships that didn't prove, like, they got mad at me anyways. Like, they got pissed off at me for the version that I edited to please them. So I just realized, you know what? They were going to be pissed off at you no matter what. So you should have just said what you were going to say.
Right.
So, like, you can't do, like, it's like you can't do anything right, kind of thing. Like, I was damned no matter what I said. So I should have just completely spoke, and which would have been more interesting. And then there's things that, like, honestly, like, I forget. Like, it's sometimes I'll be taking a shower and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to put that in my book. Like, it's just like, because it's just never ending. And I'm surprised that I ever finished that book. And one of the reasons I did is because I'm one of those people that starts things and never finishes them. So it really meant a lot to me to actually see this through, to really write the book, publish it, have a book. Everyone says they're going to write a book about their life, but I did it. And
it's amazing. Like, I'm not just saying that. Like
Do you
I
know
read this
I
in one
took that
day.
photo in my living room during the pandemic. I snuck a photo when people weren't supposed to be like near each other. I
Yeah.
snuck a Playboy's makeup artist, a photographer, and assistant into my house, did a backdrop, and I bought that bodysuit on Amazon for $30 and
Oh shit.
I said I want to look like I'm a poster girl. I want to be like I want to look like the cover of Playboy, and that's what I want my book cover to look like. And a lot of people told me I did it the wrong way, and maybe they're right. If I ever do a re-release, maybe I'll do it differently. But they thought like I should do something completely opposite,
Okay.
like no makeup, like just like in the raw, like
Conservative, like
yeah,
clothes, or
yeah, but I that's not true to it's, that's really not true to who I am.
yeah,
I mean, that's I can play that part,
yeah,
like, but the part of me that has fun is the girl that created that cover,
yeah,
and that's the spirit that drove me in my career, and that's the one that published the book, not the girl that sits in her pajamas with no makeup on, um while whining about sexual harassment or something.
right.
Like that's really not me, as you've probably been able to tell from this interview.
I have.
i'm I'm pretty um outspoken
Yeah.
and self-aware, and no matter how much trouble I get myself into, like you can only spook me for about a minute and I will spook you back. I will. Yeah.
Well, I salute it, and I salute your honesty, and you're just like, hey, I'm just gonna tell things the way I see it, and I think
Isn't
that's
that the only way though? How else am
right,
I going to tell it? Like the only way I have is my way. you
right.
know I don't
Um,
get anybody else's voice.
so
I'm
you,
lucky anyone wants to hear mine.
I think people want to hear your story. I can't wait for people to hear this because I think it's amazing. Um, Is what else do you have going on? What else do you have going on now? Is there anything else that you have going that you want to tell people about, or?
Oh, I don't know if there's anything worth announcing at this point. I'm working on mm, a documentary type thing about
Okay.
centerfolds. I'm not sure if, I don't want to go into too much detail. I don't know
Yep.
if if anything will come of it. I'm
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of like you just never know. Even when you sign a deal, like I can't tell you how many jobs I've gotten and gotten so excited about them, and I'm out spending the money before like the job starts, and then the job never happens.
Right.
So, like that's that's just this business. It's like,
Yeah.
you have to you don't get too excited or too disappointed, about
Right.
anything. I never get excited about anything anymore, and until I'm like on the set, like actually like working, it's really happening. Like I don't get excited, and I've thought about I have so many ideas for writing
Yeah.
more that it may happen.
Okay.
I don't know.
But you're a fantastic writer. I mean, this book was like it was such an easy read, and I don't mean I have an English degree. I taught high school English for 12 years until I started doing this 2 years ago.
Well, then you know that writing is about rewriting.
Yeah,
So yeah,
and
editing. That's so
totally.
tedious. It's so tedious.
And I've always said, "Oh, I'm going to write," because I was in Iraq in 2003. I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to write about that." And it's so hard to write a book. So the fact that you did this, I mean, is amazing. So,
Well, thank you. It was. I'm amazed that I did it, because sometimes I would set my alarm like for 15 minutes every day. I just 15 minutes, and
right.
sometimes I only wrote for 15 minutes, and sometimes I'd end up in my pajamas for 3 days. Yeah,
Yeah.
it don't, and I still journal. I try to every day, but I miss days. But I do 3 minutes. I
Right.
try to do like 3 minutes, and 3 minutes goes by like 30 seconds, and I don't, it's not meant for anybody. I just scribble thoughts. Um, but yeah, pretty much everything is documented in my life. Like,
Mhm.
not, uh, so I go through phases. Like last year, it was like 8 p.m. I had an alarm every night, like that I write. Um, uh, so sometimes I'm more disciplined than others.
Mhm.
But I would have never been able to write my book had I not been journaling my entire life. Since I was 10 years old,
Right.
I've had journals because they were assignments in school, and I liked it, and I just kept it up
Right.
um, my whole life. And uh, yeah, in my recent failed relationship, the reason that I was doing it was because I was being gaslit. And so, yes, I started, that's why I had an alarm set 8 p.m. every night. So I journaled the day. And then when he would try to tell me what happened, I'd say, no, actually, this happened on this day. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And yeah, so after a while, he's like, you don't have to do that anymore. I'm like, oh, I think I do.
Right.
I kind of like it.
Right.
Yeah, it kept me sane. It kept me sane from the rewriting of history that a gaslighter does, and they try to convince you that your reality is something different than what it is. And that journaling kept me grounded, so that I look back on it like a lot
Yeah.
recently, and it really helps to like because you're not going to remember what your mindset was like a couple months ago or
Yeah.
a year ago. You're just not wired that way.
Right.
So to have something in writing, and when I wrote my book, like it wasn't just my journals, it was letters I wrote to my grandparents and things that they saved. That after they died, like I found that they'd saved their whole lives, and it was those pieces of my history that I put together, um, and photos. Like it just, like I would have never been able to sit down. I don't know if anyone ever wonders how I wrote my book, but it's not like I just sat down and went, la la la, I remember all this. No, it was a lot of research, even though it's my life. Like
Yeah.
when I was working on a chapter that um, I needed to remember what happened during that time of my life, I would call friends that were in my life at the time, and they would remind me of things I totally forgot. They're like, "Yeah, remember that time?" Da, da, da. And I'm like, "Oh my god, I totally forgot about that." So it was kind of like a group effort, to put the pieces of my life in order. And
Yeah.
then, as you know, as a English teacher and a writer, I talk to a lot of people that are like, well, why didn't you put in that? And why didn't you put in that? And I'm like, because you have to make it flow.
Right.
Because like and then when you go to edit it, you have this piece that makes no sense with that piece. So like you need the arc to like transition
Mhm.
into the next thing. And some things got lost because there just wasn't like a place to put that
Yeah.
arc. And
Yeah.
a lot of people have encouraged me to turn it into a screenplay. I don't see it as a screenplay because it spans 50 years.
Yeah.
And I see, if anything, I would do like a Netflix, like a, a every season would be a different
Right.
decade.
Right.
Yeah. Because it's too much for 2 hours. So that would be,
Yes.
yeah, I'd really like to do that. I don't really know how to make that happen.
Yeah. Well, hopefully somebody sees this
Well,
and
yeah, I've been approached when the book first came out by some, I don't know, they told me they were award-winning producers, maybe they wanted a free copy of the book. I don't know. They reached out to me and then I sent them books and they didn't respond. And I recently asked a friend of mine that's a successful director, screenwriter, if I should bother doing it. And the answer was so incredibly discouraging. He
Oh,
said, it's a young person's business.
right,
So I'm like, oh, so like, if I was still young, by the way, I wouldn't have a story to tell.
right,
Yeah. How is it a young person's business? You don't have a story when you're young. Like,
right.
I have one because I lived.
Yes, right.
So I think that's a negative point of view. Maybe I need a young producer, director, writing partner that is inspired by my story to help me make it happen.
It's a pretty, it's a fascinating love story about a girl from a small town girl meeting a rock star, and the rock star gets cancer and I mean, tell me that's not a movie just waiting to be made. I don't know, but
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, it was just, I know. Like it's so heartbreaking. Just so heartbreaking. Um, I'll just be honest with you without like telling the world where I live. Like I just moved recently
okay,
and um I straight back to the area like that I was in my early 20s when I was with him. And I can literally walk to that 7-Eleven where he showed off his scar and where my PO box used to be, like right next to there. And it's like it's come full circle that I'm like back in this area and it I'm not quite sure how to feel about it because um it's bittersweet, like when like you have the memories of being with someone, but they're not here anymore.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's like, and it's so different than like a breakup because when you break up with someone, you can hate them,
yeah,
you can figure, oh, he'll be back, you know,
yeah,
but when somebody passes away, like it's finality.
yeah,
That you're alone with your thoughts
yeah.
and everybody else's judgments. And yeah, the last relationship that I was in, um, gosh, like why he liked to bring up Eric so much was just it I think it's evil. Like they get to know like where your vulnerability is. And believe me, anything anyone says about Eric pretty much pisses me off.
Right,
So it's not hard. It's
right,
not hard.
right, right.
Yeah, but like I like he would compare himself to Eric like as if they were on the same level
Yeah,
to me, and that pissed me off
right,
because you don't you just don't get to talk about Eric at all.
right,
Like you do not get to like bring Eric up
right,
in any way, shit, like argument, like anything, because that what you're doing is it, taking like the most vulnerable subject there is for me,
mhm,
and you're hitting me
yeah,
like there so you can hurt me yourself. You're using the pain that I already suffered from losing Eric to hurt me worse. And that makes you evil,
right,
you know?
right.
So that's pretty much like, yeah, like, um, I don't think there's ever been, anyone like since that has handled, uh, Eric's memory, in a supportive way
Mhm.
with me that I've been involved with, and that's sad.
Do you
know.
keep in touch with any of his family?
Uh, yes, I'm his niece Sarah Jean and
Okay.
I are in touch quite a bit. And mostly, I went to visit her during the pandemic. I mean, she was only 4 years old when Eric passed away.
Sure.
She was just a little girl. Now
Sure.
she's grown up and married.
Yeah.
But it was nice to see her like during the pandemic. She lives
Yeah.
in Northern California, and I talk to his sister once in a while. But his parents are both gone now, and but there's some good friends of his, that I keep in touch with, and um, Lenora Corbett, Gary Corbett's
Yeah.
widow, is
Yeah.
a very dear friend of mine, and Eric was best friends with Gary. Um,
Gary was the keyboard player for Kiss.
yeah,
Yeah.
Gary was the offstage keyboard player, and he was extremely close to Eric and loyal to Eric.
Yeah.
Eric's best friend, and did, had Eric's back, really defended him.
Yeah.
Basically left Kiss over him,
Yeah.
and joined Cinderella. But anyway, he passed a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
and I'm still best friends with Bruce's ex-wife, Christina.
Yeah.
I'm still good friends with Bruce. Um, there's a lot of different
Yeah.
names. I did get some good friends, and I hate to. I'm not afraid of everybody just because there was like a couple of really bad seeds in the bunch. I
Right.
can't imagine. I've thought about this. If I get that, can you imagine what the guys in the
Oh,
band get?
no.
Like, no wonder they have like major security.
It's
When I was, it's in my book, the story about when I was in New Hampshire with Eric, and there was like a lady with a knife who insisted that like she had a fake ID with his name on it, and she had her kid with her, was saying Eric was the father of her kid, and she found out he was in his hotel room with another girl, and she was going to stab me to death, and security had to like walk me to the bus like separately from him. That was, what, 1990.
yeah.
And uh yes, there was crazies then, but that was before the internet, and like now I'm going, geez, like, yeah, if I get that, I mean, I don't know if I don't know what anybody else gets, but they must be terrible.
I'm sure I can't imagine being a big celebrity. I mean, just even running this channel. I mean, I get a lot of nice messages from people I've never met before, which is awesome. But every now and then you get somebody who's like, "You suck. You don't know how to, but whatever. You're
Well, welcome to my world. I get haters like almost every day. It does not affect me like whatsoever. I take it as a compliment. And you know who taught me that? Paris Hilton. Because I've known Paris since she was 16 years old from Coming to the Mansion, and then when she blew up and she got really famous and she was really criticized after the sex tape and everything, I asked her, I'm like, how do you deal with it? And she said, you just can't care.
yeah,
You just can't care.
right.
So, and you know what? She lives her life to the fullest and laughs all the way to the bank, and
Yeah,
she doesn't care.
yeah.
So,
Well, I think you're associated with Eric Carr, but I think you have your own identity. You did your own stuff. You had your own career. You were Miss June 1997. So I just on a personal level, I hope you don't just think that, oh, I'm just Eric Carr's girlfriend. I'm
no,
probably
I
babbling,
actually
but
don't. I mean, I've been on Two and a Half Men. I've been,
yes.
I'm famous worldwide in my own right. Like, I'm not saying, I'm not saying I'm Angelina Jolie or anything, but I do have achievements, and I don't
Absolutely.
yeah, and um I don't, but I will note that I did write a book about my life, and I only talk to about Eric pretty much in every interview because he's what everyone wants to hear about. But part of that is my fault, actually. I did get asked to do a lot of sports podcasts when the book came out,
Sure.
and I said no.
Sure.
Uh,
Sure.
you know what? Because I knew that they were going to want me to speak negatively about John Elway,
Yeah.
and I did not write the book to hurt
Right.
anyone. I'm reiterating that. I didn't write the book to ruin anyone's life or ruin anyone's career. I'm just writing about my life because it's the only one I have. It's the only thing I get to talk about. I don't, it's mine.
You were
So
probably getting a lot of phone calls for interviews after those tweets, probably about that. So anyway,
I did, and I did give a couple interviews to TV interviews. I don't remember what shows, like Access Hollywood, this type of stuff. But you know what they do? Like they come over, they interview you for 4 hours, and they edit you down to like 3 sentences, and then they like insert like like
yes,
whatever footage, and they paint you in a way that like you didn't mean to come off.
that's right.
So like it wouldn't matter if I had said what I told you about
Yeah.
Oliver Stone. They were going to paint it however they wanted their story to go.
Yep.
So I didn't have any control over that.
That's what's awesome about this stuff. Long form podcasts is you have all the time you want to explain yourself. There's really no way to have misconceptions because you get the whole story out anyway. So, your book is available at Amazon. You can go to carriestevens.com. It's called Unrated Revelations of a Rock'n'Roll Centerfold. I read it in one day. If you are a fan of this channel, you should go out and buy this book. I kid you not, you will not be able to put it down. And the Kiss stories are phenomenal. Your whole career has been amazing. You've had a wild and crazy life, I'll be honest. Carrie Stevens, thank you so much for coming on and telling your story.
Well, here's to more wild, crazy times and bring it on. So until then, thank you for having me. And yeah, you're awesome. I appreciate that that you asked me to come on. It's been just a really an honor to speak with you.
Thank you.